Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. Such as some other review. But I'm gonna sit there and say it in this one and probably the other two. I got rid of my cable box because the cable bill was starting to get ridiculous. That had to go. Now I still have Peacock and stuff like that, so I can still watch Days and stuff. And there is a couple of different sites as far as watching Days. Actually, tell you the truth, YouTube is actually pretty great as far as watching Days. It's GH that always acts up, but Days seem to really work with YouTube a lot of the time. So for the most part, it's still going to be around the same time, but yeah, just want to let people know the time difference in case it came out like around this time or a little bit later or hopefully earlier. But I'm always going to sit there and try to put out the videos as soon as I can. And I'm also going to be sitting there trying to do Young and Restless and Bold and the Beautiful new challenge. You know, I was thinking about doing that a couple of times, and I was like, I don't know if I can do it. Really just psych myself out, and just even attempting on doing it, because I just kept looking at it like, I try to do all of them, I'm going to burn myself out. I mean, there's some sort of quote as far as being, now I can't remember what it is. Oh, Jack of all trades, master of none. And so I didn't want, me to sit there and try to do all of them, and it just comes out sort of like crap, as opposed to me trying to do a few. But I'm like, you know what? I want to challenge myself. I also want to sit there and watch some of these other soap operas, Bold and the Beautiful and Young and the Restless, because that's been on for quite a while, and I'm very curious about that show. So I'm going to be sitting there adding that on to the reviews. Now, those reviews are going to probably come out a little bit later on. So most people are probably watching it the next day. Unless I'm off, then I can sit there and try to do it a little bit earlier. Mondays is my late day, so hopefully throughout the rest of the week it won't be coming out as late as this. So, yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. It's also weird. I said this before. It's also weird not having a cable box. Waking up and you're like, alright, well, let me change the channel. And then I realized that the box isn't there, and, well, that I don't actually have a remote controller. Yeah, just weird. Now let's talk about Ben and Ciara. Also, before we get started, so me and DC Soap Sanctuary have been trying to brainstorm about a collab for Days of Our Lives. The thing is, when we did the GH review, I've been watching GH for quite a while. So we did a history, the good and the bad of GH, but with Days, I've only been watching it for about a year and a half, but I still want to sit there and do some sort of video with him. So if anyone can sit there and think of some ideas as far as anything that y'all would like to see us do, please write it down in the comment section below. And yeah. So, Ben and Ciara. DC Soap Sanctuary said that they were a super couple and he really likes them. And, oh my goodness, these two are just so insufferable. But it's okay. It's okay. Because, we all have different opinions about stuff. And, that's what makes doing this so interesting and so fun. Now, before they start to become insufferable again, Ciara was like, so, wait a minute, you don't want to have kids? Isn't that something you should have probably told us? Isn't something you should probably told me before? I don't know. We got married? And I'm like, bro, as much as I don't like you two, she has a point. Now Ben is all like, oh well, it became real when you stopped taking birth control and you wanted to really do it. I'm like, bro, I'm sorry, but that's no excuse. If you didn't want to have kids to pass down your quote unquote bad genes, this is something you should have told her. Especially knowing that she wanted to have a kid. You don't wait until you have to get married and then say, oh, by the way, I don't want to have kids because, all sorts of bad serial killer genes could just wind up in our child. So, no, let's just not do that. But, she convinces him. Well, I mean, she talks about the good that he can bring. Yeah, there's a chance, but it's small and they're good people and they would raise their child right. So she makes some very valid, I don't want to sit there and say arguments, but valid points. But she's like, listen, I can't sit there and change your mind in one conversation. So let's just sleep on it, wake up, and just, whatever. Let's just kind of enjoy ourselves and our lives, and, we'll come back to it. So Ben goes to sleep, and he has this dream that... So he has this dream when they're walking in and kissing each other, because apparently that's pretty much all they do. And he turned around, and see her son. And, it sounds like, my babysitter, she didn't want me to sit there and play these games, this game that I want to play. She was being all, mean and strict and stuff like that. And, Ben was like, Sierra was like, what kind of games do you want to play? And he said something along, playing with neckties or whatever. And he moved out the way and sort of babysitter or strangled up and everything. He woke up like he had the worst nightmare possible. Of course, when he wakes up and Sierra's like, what did you have a dream about? He's like, oh, I can't remember. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of times that people do wake up from their dreams. And sometimes they can't remember. But that's usually, the next day, That's usually, the next day. That's not like you just wake up from a dream and it's really bad, because most people can remember. So, this dude was lying, is pretty much what I'm saying. He was lying. I feel like this is going to be a test for them, as far as this, she wants to have a child and he doesn't want to have a child, and for some odd reason he just felt like it wasn't a good enough reason to have a talk about that before they decide to get married, because that makes sense. So Johnny still want to make his movie, and Chanel's like, that's a bad idea, because you're just tempting things and inviting things in, and just not really a good idea. You don't want to do that. Tony walks in and scares Chanel. And, Johnny's like, alright, so, listen, I get you can't be, a financial backer, but you could be a consultant. The script, he looks at the script and he's like, you were here for all this. Now, because I've only been watching it for a year, all sorts of crazy stuff that's been going on. Apparently had a brother who changed her face to look like him, and so the brother was there, and he wasn't. On top of that, he talks about how he was married to Kristen, and Johnny's like, aren't y'all, related or something? And Tony was like, oh, we're not by blood. Okay. He just left that one alone. He was just like, point is, he didn't have a first-hand account of what went on, and Tony was like, talk to Marlena. Johnny's like, that's not a good idea, because John would really not like it. And Tony was like, well, then you got your answer. Most likely, you probably shouldn't be sitting there doing it. Good night, and he just goes off. Johnny is like, I'm still going to make this movie. Now Chanel, not wanting to sit there and talk about, that movie or anything of that nature, was like, alright, so she talks about something else, and then it gets to a point where Chanel's like, alright, we're not gonna have sex right now. We're just gonna just have fun, and I hate Cynthia saying this, but this is literally what it came down to her basically Cynthia saying that she's gonna make him work for it. Now I personally don't. I think here's the thing. I think if it happens, it happens. Okay. I get the fact that maybe she wants to have her get to know him and everything like that, and just kind of take things slow and not rush into it. And I get that, and I can respect that. I can respect that. But this whole, oh, I'm gonna make him work for it, like you're just some sort of like prize or something, like you really think way too high of yourself for those words to even come out your mouth. Just saying. And I've never liked that, you know. I've never liked that. And don't get me wrong, it's one thing if you want to just kind of take things slow, not really rush into stuff, and just kind of have this person get to know you first. And that's fine. But trying to make it seem like it's some sort of goal or whatever, like you're just so amazing that I just have to climb mountains and go through all these different challenges. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to fully get into it because I feel like I'm going to be a dick, but let's just put it this way. Yeah, I'm not exactly a fan of the whole working for it. It's one of those things like it should happen naturally, or you should just be like, yo, get to know me first before you decide to whatever. That whole thing just comes across as egotistical, I have to sit down and say. Now Trip comes over Allie's place, makes some dinner, and they start talking. And you know, Allie brings up the whole possession thing with Marlena, and Trip has the reaction that Paulina had and that Chanel had. But Trip is a skeptic. He believes in science. He's a medical student. So he tries to shoot down every single possible reason of why possession isn't real, what happened wasn't real. And towards the end of it, you know what? Allie's just like, listen, if my Grandpa John said it's real, and I really felt like he was telling me the truth, then I'm going to believe him. And that pretty much ends that scene more or less. Now, Julie is still worried about Doug. So she's not there talking to Eli. Meanwhile, you had, what did DC Soap Sanctuary call her? Mardev or a Devil Mar? But that's Marlena, because I can't remember what it is. But that's Marlena is pretty much just about to put that pillow over Doug's face and just kind of end it. But Marlena is still fighting, you know, not really fully letting she's still not willing to let the possession settle in. You know, it's side note, this whole weekend I was sitting there watching Sabrina on Netflix, and that show is dark. My friend said that that version of Sabrina, I don't think was ever supposed to be that dark. But the point is, it gets into some dark stuff. And somehow I'm able to sit there and watch that, have them talk about all sorts of crap, and yet, you know, I still feel uncomfortable sitting there saying that. And I found this so funny. I'm like, I just practically nearly binge watched the entire season, and yet, watching this show, I'm like, I really don't want to say that name. Anyway, Marlene is fighting back. So, just long enough for Eli to come in, because, you know, Julie wants to come in, but, you know, she's like, she wants to listen to Marlena, and Eli's like, yo, listen, I'll go in there, and, I'll see what's going on. So he comes in there, and possessed Marlena has a pillow, and she's all like, "Oh, I'm just in there trying to make him a little more comfortable." Seeing that Eli is not gonna leave, and let's be honest, she's at a point where she's like, "Oh, well, if you could just frankly just leave, if you could just get out of here." And I'm like, Eli, you don't notice that she's being a little bit more, well, meaner than usual? This isn't Marlena that we've kind of known. I mean, I haven't watched this show for that long, but she's never really came across as like that. But he's like, yo. And Doug is somewhat elusive, but not too elusive. Doug is like, yo, listen, I don't want you going anywhere. He was like, no, you don't leave. I want you to stay. I don't want you to go. Seeing that possessed Marlena is not going to get her way, he's like, alright, guess I'll go and see what John and Julie are up to. Now, Julie and John are sitting there praying and stuff like that. And possessed Marlena is like, kind of like, creeping by the door or whatever, and I'm sitting there thinking, shouldn't you be like burning up or swaying or something? Earlier, John wasn't there thinking about the reaction that Marlena had when he just pretty much brought up the Bible, even when he showed the Bible. But he doesn't think much of it. It's like he thinks like, okay, and it just kind of just goes on. So they're praying and stuff like that. Marlena comes in there, possessed Marlena comes in there, and again, I'm just like, shouldn't you be like, I don't know, like Angel, not really able to walk in churches and stuff like that? I've never watched Angel, but I've seen little clips and stuff. Anyway, she just walks right on in there, and Julie leaves. John talks to Marlena for a little bit, say that they love each other and hug. And Julie comes back in the room. Now, Doug is not there trying to talk to Eli, but this man must be on so much pain medication or just weared out from, just weird out from everything that he's not really saying a lot of stuff. He's not there trying to say stuff, but it's just like the words aren't really coming out correctly. And so between that and, Eli, hey, don't work yourself up, and Julie comes in there, and Julie, when she starts talking, it just doesn't end. And the man can't pretty much kind of get a word in inchwise, so he's just like, alright, you're not gonna let me talk, and I keep trying to mutter up something, and I'm just gonna go back to sleep. And that's what he does. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it, more or less. I know that there's just not really so much of a controversy or whatever, but I know there's a lot of people that do not like this storyline. I know that because I'm always visiting on Instagram the woman who plays Marlena and the guy who plays Doug, and they'll take like little pictures or whatever, little fun pictures and stuff. And, people in the comment section are just ripping these people apart. Not ripping these people apart, but just being kind of a Debbie Downer or negative Nancy, whatever you want to sit there and call it. And I look at that, and I'm just like, if you don't like the storyline, that's fine. But to go on these people's pages and be like, well, I don't like it because it's not realistic. I'm like, one, it's a soap opera. Two, I wouldn't sit there and say so much how it's not exactly realistic, but the point is, you're going on this person's page, and you're like, well, I don't like it. I'm not going to sit there and watching it because this is dumb and this is stupid and you already did this like 20 years ago. And it's like, alright, listen, you can feel how you want to feel, but when you go on somebody else's page and you start bringing all that negativity, it's just like, what are you doing? And I just don't get it. Like, if I just don't like a storyline, I'm just not going to really go to that person's page, see those pictures, and kind of remind myself of the story that I don't like. My point is that there's going to, this whole thing is pretty interesting. If you have a bunch of people that don't like it, you have another group of people that do like it. I feel like the majority of the fan base kind of don't like it, and they just decide to do it anyway because, well, they just wanted to. And yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. And I don't want to actually say. I feel so uncomfortable actually just saying any of those names unless it's Lucifer, because I watch Lucifer on Netflix. But I just feel like saying any one of those other things is just like, I'd rather not. It's weird to sound. I'd rather not actually invite that sort of stuff, because it creeps me the hell out, to be honest. Which is sad because I'm actually a real hardcore horror fan, but there's certain things that I'm just like, alright, I kind of gotta draw the line somewhere, so, that's where I'm gonna draw it. But I'm still gonna have fun with this storyline. This episode was okay. It wasn't super great, but it wasn't, like, terrible either, so I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than I enjoyed GH. GH needs to really step it up, but I'm going to save my gripes for that for another time. With that being said, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. Be safe. And like I said before, if any ideas come to your head as far as another collab with me and DC Soap Sanctuary, please write it down in the comment section below. Because I'm definitely wanting to do another collab. Last one was really fun. And, it was always really interesting sitting there, bouncing off ideas from him and talking about like soaps and stuff like that. Because there's times where we do see eye to eye, and then there's other times where it's like, it's just like, bro, we just have different perspectives, but I appreciate your perspective. But yeah, it's always been it was fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing it again. So, any comments, questions, any comments or whatever, as far as, well, any ideas on that, please write down in the comment section below. And your comments about today's episode, please write down in the comment section below. Sounds so cheesy. With that being said, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. Be safe. See you in the next video.